Some Republican presidential candidates see a political opportunity in the troubles this week on the campus of the University of Missouri.
I think it's disgusting.
Yeah.
I think the two people that resigned are weak, ineffective people. I think that when they resigned, they set something in motion that's going to be a disaster for the next long period of time. They were weak, ineffective people. How we hire people like this. Trump should have been the chancellor of that university. Believe me, there would have been no resignation.
Really
Did you look at their demands? Their demands are like crazy. The demands that they're, the things that they're asking for, many of those things are like crazy.
So Trump says Trump should have been the chancellor of that university. And if he was the chancellor of that university, there would be no resignations. If there was a Trump university, there'd be no resignations. In fact, there was a Trump university, and not just the head of Trump University, but everyone. I mean, everyone at Trump University, in effect, resigned when the university closed down after 6 years of taking big tuition fees in a for-profit university from students and never granting a single degree because it was not a real university. We're joined now by Eugene Robinson, Bob Herbert, Anna Marie Cox. Gene Robinson, to hear Donald Trump telling us how things should work in higher education after the New York State Attorney General, in effect, shut down his operation, fraudulent operation of Trump University.
In a year rich in irony, this sets the bar high. It is ironic. He clearly knows nothing about the Missouri protests, and he's used it as an occasion to spout off and to show himself as, you know, I don't take any stuff from anybody, which is basically his campaign slogan. And
Bob, it seems that if anywhere in our public affairs, if a line seems to form that has black people on this side of it and other people on the other side of it, the Republican presidential candidates want you to know they're on whatever side the black people aren't on.
I have argued for many years now that the Republican Party, unfortunately, had become what I call the safe house for bigotry. And it continues that way, and it continues that way in the face of demographic changes that are really, if the party continues the way it's going now, it's just going to be relegated to the dustbin of history. And
let's listen to Ben Carson talking about this with Megyn Kelly.
What they're telling these students right now on the Missouri campus is, if you hear speech that you find insulting, call the cops. You are now supposed to call the campus cops if you hear something offensive. What are we doing to tomorrow's generation?
Well, we're being a little bit too tolerant, I guess you might say, accepting infantile behavior. And I don't care which side it comes from. You know, to say that I have the right to violate your civil rights because you're offending me is un-American.
Anna Marie, there's Megyn Kelly doing her best imitation of a Republican presidential candidate, asking a Republican presidential candidate a softball question.
Yeah, it's a little bit disconcerting to watch that whole thing because, you know, Ben Carson, of all people, obviously should be sensitive to the history here. And that seems to be the part that everyone's ignoring. That this isn't about just the past few weeks, that there's a whole history at the University of Missouri. The very name of the protest, the hashtag of the protest, concerned student 1950, referring to the first year that a black student was admitted to the university, is a sign that there's a history here. It's not just about whatever happened, you know, in people's news feed, and it's the black students or it's the people protesting there that are aware of that history. I think sometimes the journalists aren't either. That this is taking place in a context that means something. That it's not just about being insulted. It's about a systematic, oppression. It's about systematic racism and asking people to step back and look at the system and not just these individual incidents.
And Bob, this is a campus where there's been a SWAT sticker put up. There's been threatening language. We have an arrest for terrorist threats that a white man has delivered to these students. And so, yes, the campus police want to know if you're hearing these kinds of things.
Well, it's interesting because sort of opponents of the protest would like to give the impression that, well, there's a little bit of name-calling going on. You need a little bit of a thicker skin. This has been a terribly hostile environment for an awful lot of students for a long time, including, as you point out, death threats, swastikas, Confederate flags on trucks being driven around the campus and that sort of thing. I mean, this is a case of the black students on the campus just actually being fed up with the way they've been treated, and they've decided to fight back against it.
Yeah, and Gene, the Republican technique, including the Fox News technique, as Megyn Kelly exhibits, is to not include any of the actual facts of what anyone has been subjected to.
Republicans this year, facts. Those words don't go together in any sentence, right? I mean, they don't. And, you know, for example, they're defending, they defend the administrators who resigned, but in fact, they were incompetent administrators. The president of the university system had no experience running a university. And was in fact a businessman who was named to bring fiscal order to the university, but in fact had no idea how to run an institution of higher learning, and made mistake after mistake after mistake, and alienated not just black students, but virtually all students, virtually all faculty, to the point where departments of the university were calling on him to resign before any of this broke. So, but again, those are facts, and they're not relevant here, I guess.
And Anna Marie, Chris Christie, having been demoted out of the big debates, desperately clinging to relevance, has used this opportunity to issue a threat to the Black Lives Matter movement that if you want a meeting with him, he will absolutely not give a meeting. He just wants everyone to know, you know, he's standing tough against any black protest of any kind wherever it erupts.
Well, obviously, like, that's his attempt to become relevant. I don't think the people of the Black Lives Matter movement really want a meeting with Christie. And, you know, I think that obviously that's to their credit. I mean, in some ways, if we want to look for a silver lining here, I do think that there is one in terms of the agency that has been shown by the students here. And it's not just the black students. There are other students. One of the more moving images of this whole incident was the image from the football team that wasn't just the black student athletes, but all the athletes linking arms, standing with each other. As your other guests have pointed out, this is not just about the black students feeling like something is wrong. This is about the whole system having experienced some problems, about an incompetent president, about issues that should have been addressed long ago. And I think I'm a veteran of student protests myself. I don't think I've ever seen one quite as successful as this one. And I think that they deserve credit for that.
We are joined now by phone by Nina Turner, former Ohio State Senator, who is making important news tonight. Nina Turner, we understand that you are switching from a supporter of Hillary Clinton to now a supporter of Bernie Sanders. Could you tell us about that?
Hi, Lawrence. So I'm on an airplane as we speak. I could barely hear your question, but I think you were asking me why am I supporting Senator Bernie Sanders. And I'm supporting him because he is a champion for all the things that I believe in, because of his passion and his heart for the people. He is certainly ahead of his time, and the nation is finally catching up with him. He's a heartfelt man, and that's how I roll most of the time. I go with my heart, and I support what he is standing for.
But what has happened that has made you change your mind about Hillary Clinton? Is there any new information in this campaign that we didn't have a few months ago when you decided to support Hillary Clinton instead of Bernie Sanders?
Well, not at all, Lawrence. I think what people are forgetting is that, last year there was no ready for anybody else. I mean, I got in that right after my election, or right after my run for Secretary of State last year, because I thought it was important to stand up and to get Democrats ready, and that was out there. So nothing has happened, with the secretary at all. She is a fine candidate. This is not about being against her. It is about being for Senator Bernie Sanders. I never made a formal endorsement in this election, but I was out there, and so I was ready, but I'm feeling burned right now. And
have you heard from the Clinton campaign about this, or from Secretary Clinton?
No, I have not.
And have you spoken to Bernie Sanders since making this announcement?
I have spoken with the senator, not since this announcement came out, but I did speak with the senator about 2 weeks ago or so and got a chance to hear his message firsthand about why he is doing this and why he feels as though the nation is ready for this kind of political revolution, and that he is the one to lead, and the passion that he has, the same passion that I have for serving people who have lost hope in this country, people who are tired of the status quo, tired of business as usual, and I'm right with the senator on that. So I'm going to do everything that I can, travel in this entire country to introduce this nation to Senator Bernie Sanders in the same way that I was introduced to him as well. I was learning about the senator in the same way that other folks learned about him. Learning about it.
Political observers are surprised to see someone switching from the front runner who has a 20-point lead in the latest national poll to the person in second place. It's unusual politics, don't you agree?
Well, Lawrence, they shouldn't look at it that way. No, they should absolutely not look at it that way. As I said, I never endorsed. Yes, I was supportive, but I never endorsed. And now that I know what I know about Senator Sanders and have had the chance to engage him and watch him over these last few months, this is where I believe I need to be, and I make decisions based on where I need to be and what I think is right, and not what is necessarily politically correct. So we're going to run a hard race. The Democrats are fortunate that they have 3 strong candidates, but we're going to run this race and run it strong.
Nina Turner, thank you very much for joining us. I can hear them just about telling you to hang up that phone on that airplane, I'm sure.
The doors on me, Lawrence. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina Turner. Thank you very much.